but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Geordies here, Geordies there, and delighted to say I've got a panel tonight of George, Kevin, Steve, Stu, Steve Wilkinson, Mitch, and Al Walid was here, but now he's gone. No queuing tonight for anybody and getting kicked out. We haven't kicked Al Walid out, he's coming back in, there he is. And membership, yeah, I'm sure we'll come to it sometime in the show, but I had a little chat with the panel beforehand. I'd rather start with something positive. Let's talk about the Amazon documentary. The trailer's out there. It's on social media. The launch date is the 11th of August. And as they often do with these kind of things, they push out the little best bits, some little snippets. And I've got to be perfectly honest, that trailer for me has got me licking my lips, George. What a trailer.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still wondering if it's the thing that I made the piece for. I think it must be. So I've got a vested interest in seeing what the rest of it's like, because I spent over nearly 2 hours with them in the Strawberry Pub taking films. So I'm sure that's what it was about. But yeah, I mean, if that's what's coming, that I can't wait. Like you, it really has whet my appetite, and can only be good if it's It counteracts all the negative stuff, doesn't it? That's the important thing for me. And if it's as frank as the bits I've seen is that's great, because they're not trying to hide anything. They're just saying how things are going to go, and I think that's very important. But as I say, it counteracts all the negative tripe that we've got to put up with. So yeah, can't wait. Looks good.
Yeah, okay. Kev, have you managed to see the trailer? I know you've been busy and you had a busy day yesterday, and then obviously had to do the podcast when you got in last night. Yeah. But have you seen the trailer?
Yeah, I seen the first thing. That was the first thing I woke up this morning. It was fantastic. I mean, Amazon do a great job in terms of promoting and what they do from their PR standpoint and get eyeballs on it as best they can. But yeah, that it sent goosebumps all the way running through, is watching it and seeing what, I mean, I had the pleasure of watching the little bit of the first team yesterday, but the interaction inside the dressing room was really intriguing to me, of how Eddie Howe doesn't scream and shout. He just demands of excellence. And that's a nice insight of how it played out across the season. But the other thing was of our wonderful chairman, of what his standards are of being number one. And I think that translates through the whole trailer of being number one. And even Amanda said it in the trailer of, everybody's under pressure. It doesn't matter who you are, everybody's working. So it just sets a standard for the whole club, right from the top all the way down to the kit man and the tea lady. Everybody's got a standard. And that's what they're working to be number one in the Premier League and possibly the world. So yeah, I'm very excited to watch it. So it's very interesting of the release date of the opening day of the season as well. I think that's quite interesting as well.
Now, Kevin, I've got an apology to make to you. I cut you off in your prime last night. You were going to give us an NUFC Matters exclusive.
I will.
From your standing yesterday watching the training session. You came up with a team. Do you have the team in front of you? Can you give us the team?
I can reel it off, because I was sitting there watching the team of 4-3-3, which is going to occur tonight, and I've had confirmation from the player's grandfather, will say that. Okay. Just the past 10 minutes, because I was watching it, as a coach, I was very intrigued. But so the starting 11 is going to be Martin Dubravka in goal, Kieran Trippier right back, Botman and Shaw, the two centre-halves, Byrne left back, Bruno's the holding as the 6, Tonali on the right side, and here's the big one for lads, Lewis Miley on the left side of a 3, Miggy on the right side, Isak and Anthony Gordon on the left.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's see if you're right tonight.
All the greyhounds.
Exactly. Before I pass on to Steve, I just want to shout out to John Joe Cannell. I think, Steve, you know him. I know he's been going through some difficult times, and he watches the show all the time, and he watched the show last night, and I just want to wish you well, mate, and keep pushing on, and hopefully you get better soon, mate.
Yeah, top man, big fan of the show, and great supporter of the food bank as well, Steve. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, the Amazon documentary. It's something which can either work in the favour of the club or work against it. We've seen some great ones, we've seen some poor ones, we've seen some that we're laughed at, shall we say? But yeah, this is Newcastle United's turn, and I've got to be honest. Already, it looks as if it's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting what Kev said, just the little snippets that he's seen, and, the word from our chairman saying that, we're going to be number one. He wants to be number one. Most important thing for me is being number one on the pitch, but closely followed by number one off the pitch. And I think that some of the conversations we've had today, I think it's going to be an onward struggle for some people at the club to be number one off the pitch, but that's probably another story for another show. But I mean, it's always good, isn't it? We've advocated this for years about when you get to see action behind the scenes, you get to see how football clubs run, you get to see some of the little foibles and little sort of relationships that exist. Always very enlightening. I remember talking to the fans liaison officer Lee Marshall many years ago, saying this is what they should be doing every game. Every game there should be a live NUFC TV, and it should be showing you behind the scenes with interviews and live coverage of what's going on, and to encourage people coming in earlier if that's what they're wanting. So it sounds like this hopefully could be the start of something. And I say that we've very much been an advocate of it. If you remember, that there's a few of us on here that were part of the We Are the Geordies film. And anyone who wants to get a flavour of what this is going to be like and wants to just get the excitement going, I'd suggest between now and the 11th, they go on to amazon.co.uk/We Are the Geordies, and they can download the film if they haven't already seen it, or they can watch it again. Because again, that was something different. That was through the eyes of the fans. Now we're going to see something through the eyes of the club itself. So, the fact that things are being very exciting. And I think also for fans living abroad, we've seen the way that the Newcastle have been taken into the hearts of the fans in the US, whether they're expats or whether they're Americans themselves. And I'm sure it'll be exactly the same the next time they go over to the Middle East or anywhere now, because the video, the film, what documentary, whatever you want to call it, is going to generate interest. And that's the big thing for Newcastle United, generating interest off the pitch. And that will bring the commercial side of the club more to the fore. That will encourage more companies to come in commercially and be linked to it, because they'll see a successful platform. So all positive, Steve.
Yeah, all positive. All or nothing on Prem usually ends in nothing. We booked the trend and ended on a high, says Dave, which is a good point. Ray, thank you very much for your donation, mate. I'll stick that on the pot for the next NUFC Matters team night out. Al Walid, all or nothing. It's one of those things, isn't it? Newcastle United's a slightly different name, but it's a documentary. It's coming out. It's exciting. It's something to look forward to, and not long to wait now. 11th of August.
Yes, Steve, and I remember We Are the Geordies, the movie, and it was really great, and it was kind of old. We were in the relegation, and it was after the championship. And I remember 5 maybe or 6 years ago, before I get too much information about what's going on beyond the teams, especially Newcastle and Premier League. I remember on Netflix, there was some show called, or some series called Sunderland Until I Die, which was first time with me to hear about Sunderland. And I remember I just played it for a while, and I'm very glad that Newcastle now on Amazon, and I wish it spread all the media platforms. I'm sure it's going to be great for. And one thing I should really, I would like to mention it, that when I met Amanda last visit to Newcastle, I was talking with her, and she said, you should be in the documentary. And I was really honored by this, but I'm not really sure what really happened after. Maybe I didn't follow up with that, but I'm sure it's going to be great documentary, and looking forward to watch it.
Okay, good stuff. Stu, it's been a long time in the making. Amanda certainly seems to be the the star of the show. I think that's what a lot of us have talked about. I think a lot of us would be quite interested, like Kev was, about Eddie Howe and the players and some of that banter in the dressing room. But yeah, overall, it looks really good, Stu.
It is. I hope it will be. It's a long time in the waiting because we broke the news last summer, didn't we, that it was going to happen and got mocked for it. So I hope everyone enjoys it. One in the eye for NUFC matters. But I personally think it'll be the most watched Premier League documentary that there's been released. And that's more than Man City, more than Spurs, more than Arsenal. And they're all the big six. And it'll definitely be more viewed than the comedy that was done from down the road. That's The Village of the Damned that Alan Williams just talked about. But of course, we're irrelevant, aren't we? We're just a small team. So it's now a case of, yeah, whatever, jog on. It's going to be fantastic. And I think I genuinely believe we are probably the most talked about club in the Premier League. So supporters, players even, managers, they'll all be wanting to have a little insight of what goes on behind the scenes with Newcastle United. 4 episodes, 4 hours. For us as fans, it's fantastic to be able to get in behind the scenes. And I really think that it'll be, as I said, it'll be watched by more than anything else. Hopefully it leads to more revenue streams to come in because the figures dictate it, don't they? If there's lots of figures, then they'll do it again. I'm not so sure if they're going to do it this season, but they might do it next season when we're in the Champions League again.
Steve, it's going to be a good watch, and somebody just said in the chat there, I just want to say happy birthday to Simon Davies, by the way, in the chat. Somebody said, SJP Dave said, who better to narrate this than Shearer? They kept that under the hats a little bit. I didn't know he was going to narrate it, so going to be great to hear that.
Yeah, can I first just add to what Kevin said about John Joe? I've known John Joe and Amanda for many years, right back to when Nudza first started. Amanda was involved in the early days of Nudza, so my best wishes also to John Joe. I think we've seen in the last 18 months, 2 years, we've seen the cake, the end product, and what we're going to see in this film is the ingredients. And I think, just echoing what Stu said, that's what other clubs are going to wonder. How have they done it? How have they transformed what was a relegation-bound team at Christmas, 18 months ago? That's all it is now, isn't it? Just over 18 months. How have they managed to do that? So everybody's going to be looking for the recipe to see what it is that we've done, and we want to know it as well. We've seen the end product, and I think it's going to come out. And I think there'll be what we will see, and Shearer adding Shearer to the ingredients of the film is going to really make it something that we fully understand and will help us understand how we're going to move forward to the next phase. I thought also that was a brief interview with Harvey Barnes on Sky last night. I don't know if anybody else saw it, and you can see the enthusiasm in his face already. He's only been a week. Yeah. You can see straight away that he's got it, and he's cannot wait to get involved and join in and contribute to the next level.
Okay, Mitch, your take on the Amazon documentary out soon?
Well, it'll certainly be a class act. They were given real unfettered access. We saw that in Riyadh when the cameras were there in Riyadh. But I don't know if I mentioned that they'd send cameras to Dubai, to the supporters club here during the Arsenal game. They film the fans in the bar in Dubai. They sent cameramen, but they didn't send anybody to do the interviews. So you can guess which gobshite in the bar got pushed to the front of the queue to do all that as well. So I ended up wandering around the bloody bar like some sort of bizarre cross between Alan Partridge and Terry Wogan with a stick microphone. Hope the hell that doesn't all get put on, I tell you. People be saying, who the hell is this asking the questions? But I was slurring my way through it. But it was, it gives you the kind of idea of the levels they've gone to get access to all aspects of the club, both home and abroad. backroom staff, team, management, ownership, every level. And so if you cannot make a decent documentary out about Newcastle United out of that and give everybody a flavour of what we're all about, you're doing something very wrong indeed. And I think very bold of the club to stand up and say, you know what, we're actually going to open every door to you. In some respects, you know, a very bold move. Given the position we were in, there was no guarantees we were going to save ourselves. There was no guarantees we were going to save ourselves. And so I think fair play to them. And I think it's going to give not just a feeling of that season when everything was turned around, but then going forward, what they want to do and where they want to be. And that's very clear from the words we've seen from the chairman already.
Steve, Steve, can I come back again, please? I've just remembered something about my bit in the strawberry, if that's what it's for. I'm sure it must be. I took all my hats and my scarves, and I took this as well. I took the rattle. And the producer insisted that I swung it in the strawberry. And I said, it'll make too much noise. People are not like it. And he said, what's the point of bringing it if you don't swing it? So I swung it. The bar staff were on the floor behind the bar. People were under the tables. They thought it was a bloody machine gun. So if that's in, that'll be a good laugh.
Classic. If anybody wants to ask George, now's the time to get your questions in. We'll ask them just after the ads at half time. The other big announcement today comes from the club, and that is that the fan zone has been confirmed. We should have it in place by November. It is part of the Strawberry Place partnership with the Stack. Those of you who've been regular visitors to Newcastle, or people who live in Newcastle, will know, of course, the Stack is the containers that they've had from time to time in different parts of the city, which have food and drink outlets, etc. Partnership's been linked between the Stack and the front shirt partner Seller. So the wording of it was quite simple. It's going to have, food and drink. It's going to be family friendly. It's going to have home and away games televised there, George. So a little a little venue outside the ground now. What's your views on that? We knew it was coming, but now it's been
fantastic. I mean, I don't know if you lads can remember. I mean, one of the big pluses for me since the takeover was that Matchday has again become an experience for me. I plan my day. I go in. I spend time with Steve at the food bank and all of that, and then go in and have a drink or a sandwich or whatever in the bar. And it just makes the whole day an experience. Yes, the football's the important bit, but there's a lot of other bits that go with it as well, which I enjoy. And the interaction with the fans in Bar 1892 and up in the stand as well. So if this is another way of enhancing that, then I'm all for it, and I'll use it. There's no question about that, because the other thing is that if it gives fans who can't get in the chance to watch the game, on a screen, even though the match is just over the hill, sort of thing, that'd be great. It's got to be good for the club, for the team. And more than that, it's got to be good for the city, and it enlightens the atmosphere. It takes away all this angry stuff that supporters sometimes get into. I can't wait for it. I think it's a smashing move. Great, absolutely, well done.
Kev?
Yeah, totally agree, and I think it's like a modernisation of that Strawberry Place car park, essentially, because I haven't been there for a while, but it's not run down, but it needs a bit of a regeneration and an uplift in that part of the city, because that's, come from Chinatown, walking up into that part of the ground. You can stop by in there, and you can, yes, not taken away from other businesses and things like that around the city, but it just adds something different. And I've seen some of the drawings from the club's website, and it looks like what we're seeing from the Cellar original thing when with the front of shirt. It looks very similar to that, with a stage. There's going to be music there. There's going to be this full match day experience, what I'm going to experience here in a few hours, of that everybody getting together as one pre-game, or if you can't get into the game, like George said, you can actually stay there and have a great time with your family. And again, it gets eyeballs onto the football team. It gets other people coming into the city that probably wouldn't even think about even football. They might just go there for a meal, and lo and behold, there's a football match on. I might sit there and stay a little bit longer, you know. So again, they're getting eyeballs onto the club. It's a brilliant move. The timeline is surprising to me because how councils work and permission and all the rest of it. That's a bit of a surprise, but it's great for the city. It's just going to make our city even better than what it already is. More people are going to come into it. More people for things to go, and I've read that it's going to be throughout the week. It's still going to be an operation. It's still going to be going. There's still going to be businesses open. There's still going to be things happening outside of a match day. So yeah, it's fantastic. So I'm all for it. I'll just hopefully one day soon that I'll get to go and experience it and see what it actually looks like for myself.
Okay, Steve, it's going to be, you know, a stone's throw away from the food bank. Lots of people very excited about it in the chat. Going to create new jobs. A lot of people hoping it's going to have a roof. A lot of people hoping it's going to have a decent screen. But what does this bring to the club, Steve?
It brings fans closer to the club. It gives them an opportunity to interact and to be entertained, and not just before the game, but after the game. I think it's gonna hold people in the city centre for a little bit longer than some of them would have normally. I think it's gonna encourage families to basically come together and meet up. It's going to be a social place. I've been to Germany and I've witnessed it. I was at Leverkusen last season, season before, and they had a little fan zone that was just within walking distance of the ground, and it's something that they do quite well over there. It was interesting at Leverkusen that they had a supporters club, and they all went to this one particular area within the fan zone. So it was a way that fans could congregate that were linked to the Leverkusen supporters club. So that was an interesting little facet, and I wonder if that's the sort of thing that will happen at Newcastle. It may take a little bit of the heat off the likes of the Strawberry, but I don't think it necessarily will impact them too much. I for one, until 5 minutes ago, I was going to say I'll probably not be using it. I'll be still at the food bank and at the Strawberry, and then George dropped in that we're going to be using it, so it looks like we're going, lads. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think we've always said that Newcastle need to do something. We're lucky that we've got a ground that's in the city centre to begin with. I suppose what it does show is that in terms of development, I think it's probably, as has already been mentioned in rumour mill, that it'll be the East Stand before the Gallowgate, which I found quite interesting, because the Gallowgate to me always seemed like the stand that was the easiest of the two to actually redevelop. But if they're putting some sort of structure in on Strawberry Place or just behind, then great. It's a derelict area. It's been run down. It's been left. It needs something, and if this just brightens up the city that little bit more, then fine, no problem.
No, it's great stuff. There's plenty of them a success at other grounds, Stu. Some of them are pretty naff. Some of them are quite good. I mean, the Wolves one's pretty good. I think Sella, though, will be making sure this is the best one in the Premier League.
I hope so, Steve, but I'm just a bit worried that it's rushed. And I'm going to book the trend here because I normally come out all positive about everything. I just think it's possibly rushed to try and appease people. And in my personal opinion, I think it leaves more questions than answers. Will it be covered? Because it's not Riyadh, it's not Atlanta. And I think that's where they're basing it on. The weather for most of the season, or maybe it's August, September, isn't really hospitable to stand outside. Imagine the winter months, or when it's raining and stuff like that. So will it be covered? If it is, I don't think it's going to be covered in time by November. So on the outside of it, it's a really, really good idea. But I was hoping that they would do it with more consideration, knowing what Sella are capable of, especially in Riyadh. The two lads on the right of the screen have been there with me, and we went to the place that Salah's famous for in Riyadh, and it is exceptional. And because they're putting the name to it, I'm sure they'll make this as good as they can in the time they've been allocated. But I am concerned with being outdoor. Imagine like November and it's bucking it down with rain. Who's going to be standing there? You know, just with brollies watching the game. So that's where my concern is. Whereas if they're given time, I think they would do it perfectly, and it would be the best in not just in the country, but probably the best in Europe if they were given time to do it. Now, hopefully, it's just the first stage of it. And apologies if I am coming across as negative. I'm just concerned that it doesn't suit the image that PIF or Seller are normally associated with. Some tin containers with makeshift bars and a soft play area. Like I say, I'm desperately wanting to be proved wrong, and I hope it's a rip-roaring success. But that was just my initial take when I seen it was going to be ready in November. I was more concerned about how it reflects on us as a club reputation-wise than what it's actually intended to do. Where if they said, right, we'll do it by the start of next season, they could build like a mock Wembley way where it's covered. That would get away with a TV license as well, because it's still part of the ground, if that makes sense. So you can show the games live without any issue. And for those who are going to the game, they can have a drink in there, have a big crack in there, and then walk up there, feel like the sense of togetherness, walking up it wouldn't be steps, it would be a ramp, I presume, but walking up the ramp towards the ground. You know that there's so much that can be done that can't be done by November. So
yeah, I get where you're coming from. I don't think you're being negative at all. I think it's, and that's the thing. Mitch says every Friday, you know, the beauty of us on here is we don't always agree, and that's what it's all about. You've got to be objective.
I'm coming from Steve from the fact that I've been to the Boulevard in Riyadh several times, and as I said, obviously Al Walid has, but Mitch and Steve come with us last December when we were across for the game there, and they were blown away by it. Their initial reaction was wow, and that's what PAF's about. That's what Saudi's about. That's what the Seller's about. And yes, people I'm sure will be impressed between now and November, but to have the wow factor, I'd be staggered if they're able to achieve that in such a short space of time. As I said, the weather's not kind in Newcastle for winter standing outside. So that's my main concern with it, but I really hope it does work.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably pop in at some point and go and have a look at it, but the Stack was never my favourite place. I've got to be honest; it's not my kind of thing. I think we're all probably more pub guys than we are standing out, outside. It's not for me. But look, people will enjoy it. I hope they do. Al Walid, it's a fan zone. It's somewhere to go, I guess, for people. Maybe, as has already been pointed out, they're going to put matches on. It's going to be people who don't get a chance to go to the game are going to be there. So it's catering for everybody.
I would like to say that I wish there is a museum and they use remember the TV of Mike Ashley? I didn't know if he took it with him. It should be at the museum, the small screen, and he put it in the front of the St. James Park.
Yeah, I hope there's not a museum too soon. We may get put in there, Al Walid.
It should be said that before. Going to the games, for me, I love going to the games. And I remember back when I was young, when I was a child, I always arguing with my father. I want to go to the game, but my father always liked to watch the games at home. Always. And but these things, I think he affected me somehow. He took me sometimes, but mostly we watch the games at home. So, and he said it's comfortable under air condition, and we don't have some. He tried to convince me, so that's affect me somehow. And for me, I love go to the games, but also I enjoy going to the watch it at home or watch it in coffee shop or sport bar. For me, as much as enjoying, it's not that much difference. Of course, in the St. James Park, when I tried going there, it was so magical, and I wish if I can go every day, but this is something impossible. But for me, So going to fan zone, really, I'm kind of jealous that I'm happy jealous thing that there is a fan zone will be in Newcastle, and I'm assuming it should be here also in Riyadh. I wish if they took the same experience here, because we really need this, and the club should be serious about getting fans here around and supporting the club and give them something to get the club to attach to the club. They try their best, but still not enough for me. Going to the fan zones, really, for me personally, I enjoy it. And sometimes you don't have, like, you are busy with life and you can't put some booking for tickets. I'm talking about Newcastle behalf, fans. Sometimes you can't. So it's good that if you have a chance and you have a couple of hours, you can run into the fan zone and watch these games, social with the big screen with the fans. It's really enjoyable. So for me, I'm enjoying this same as going to the match. For me here in Saudi Arabia, I'm assuming the same in Newcastle. So I really wish. Really brilliant idea, and it's gonna be. I'm sure it's gonna be the best among the Premier League teams.
Great stuff. I just want to say bye to Kev, because I know Kev's got to get off now. He's going to the match tonight. We look forward to getting your videos. I'll feature them on the show tomorrow night, mate. But thanks for coming on again tonight. And enjoy the game, as Alan Robson used to say, and Rob Byron says.
Yeah, first time in 5 years I'll get to see him. So properly live. So like things on the bottom, like a kid at Christmas, and I'm taking 8 people with us. I've got the tent ready, I've got flags ready, I've got coolers, all sorts of stuff, and probably 2,000 people are going to be stopping by my car in a parking lot near the stadium. So I'll try and get as much content as I can out to everybody, so you can see the experience. And I know there's a meet and greet going on pretty much in half an hour with Darren Eales and Shoulder and Shea Given at a bar that I go to watch the game. So just keep an eye out for that, because there's 400 people going there tonight, this afternoon for that, plus another meet and greet which is unofficial. And then there's my little get together what I'm having. Who knows what's going to happen? I've got no idea. But yeah, so I'll get as much content out, and I'll try and enjoy myself. And I'm going to be leading. I'll be the head choir boy, we'll call it that, in the game.
Good lads, good lad. Well, make sure you do knock your voice for Monday's fans forum, mate. But have a great time, mate. Love to the family.
Well, I might be a bit hoarse, so we'll see what happens. I'll still be on.
Take care, mate. Watch what you're doing.
All right,
Bye-bye.
cheers, lads. Have a great one.
Great to have Kev. I hope he enjoys the game tonight. There was a little point there which somebody said, yes, Stu Mag said during an interview in US, Darren Eales referred to the fan zone question whether, yes, it's a temporary fan zone. I think the permanent fan one will be the biggest picture. Will be the best in the bigger picture. Maybe he's in the Gallagher, says Stu. So yeah, possibly, yeah. And if he mentioned that, that's a great point. So thanks for making that, Mitch. Yeah, fan zone.
Yeah, I think the key word again is temporary. It's funny how today has been a day of so many different opinions coming in from so many sides about so many things, including the one I started the day with was fan zone being run by Stack. My God, why we're giving the job to Mackems? And I'm trying to just have a breath and go back and say, well, then we can turn around and say, hasn't the whole region benefited from the input of the Saudi money from Newcastle all the way down to Tayside and in between? And then also you've got to look at, to do something like this at short notice, they're going to reach out to people they know, and the Rubens have history with the guys from Stack.
Closed them down.
So they closed them down. So they maybe feel like they owe them one. But then also, Seller, the Boulevard's fantastic, but there's a Newcastle brown ale shaped elephant in the room that everything they do in that is fantastic in the Middle East is not with the sale of alcohol there.
Yeah.
And I'd quite like to see dancing fountains and penalty shootout competitions while everybody's had a few pints before the match. It could get messy. So they need a bit of help in terms of understanding how to organise things on the door St James's Park. And that's not a criticism. It's just lack of experience. And so getting help from somebody who is used to running something like that regionally would kind of make sense, would it not? No matter where they're from. And so I think it try and look at the glass half full attitude of everything, which has been very hard for me in the last couple of weeks, the way my inbox has been bouncing around. I think they obviously see, again, this is something that they would like to provide quickly, and I think Stu makes a fair point in that. What's the rush, lads? If you've got bigger plans than this, what's the rush for a temporary one? And so, and again, it comes back to ask certain questions that I've got of other things that I believe I'm slowly getting the answers to. And so, for me, it can only be successful because there's an out there to begin with, and something's got to be better than out. But at the same time, I would like to think that the long-term permanent fan zone is something with a bigger vision and perhaps more class. And I'm sure it will be. And I think we're deserving of that. We deserve something that's classier. We deserve something that's got a bigger picture. We deserve something that's more family-orientated necessarily than something that's similar to how I understand Stack works on the Quayside, for example. I think that's probably... it's finding the balance, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? And I'm quite sure in the long term they will find the balance. And any kind of change upsets people. Change management isn't just a buzzword, it's real. When you change anything, you upset the norms, and people don't like having their norms upset, even when it's for something better. So I think fair play that in this case, they're being honest. This is temporary. This is, they're being straight up. This is a temporary fan zone. And so I think that's quite important that they've set that out from the get-go.
Definitely.
They've not come along after somebody comes out and says, well, this is a bit shit, and start getting flack for it. They can point to, from day one when we announced it, we told you this was a temporary fan zone. And that's fine.
All right, good stuff. We've gone slightly over.
Can I just come in? I didn't get a chance because
sorry, it's just because you moved around the screen, Steve. Sorry, mate. It's just with Kevin going off. With Kevin going off, yes. I missed your go. So go on, Steve.
I'm sharing the sort of slightly negative views. I've experienced Stack both in Newcastle and Sunderland, and it's more of a permanent structure in Sunderland. And it was a cold day. The thing that Stuart was on about that. We actually spent there. It was during the end of, when COVID was just coming out, and you were allowed to book for 2 hours. And first time we got together with a few friends and had a few drinks, but we're huddled around one of those heater things, and that's what you're going to have. And when I first heard that it was a partnership with Stack, I was a bit negative on it because I'm like the lads are saying is that I would like to see something revolutionary and fantastic that we can say wow to. And the first thing when I see a Stack is as much as it might attract a lot of people, particularly younger people who are out for a drink and want to see some entertainment, it is not exactly what we're aiming for. We're aiming for an audience right from kids right up to older people wanting to enjoy a pre-match experience or during the match experience if they're going to show the games. And I think that the implication of being tied with Stack is a bit of a negative to me. But it's probably good an experiment given that they're saying it's temporary. Let's see how it works. Let's Stack learn from how they can maybe broaden themselves to attract a larger audience than they're aiming for with the particularly the one in Sunderland, which is more of a permanent establishment.
Okay, breaking news, Carl Darlow, there has been a deal agreed in principle with Leeds United. So that's from sources that have told Football Insider. So it looks as if we'll be close to getting rid of at least Carl Darlow. Lewis as well, of course, that's expected to go through. He's potentially going to go to Watford. So there is a little bit of movement on the outs, not the names such as Hendrick, Hayden and Fraser, of course, which everybody would like to see. Go on, George.
I just wanted to say that I understand the lads having these negative things. I've got a problem. I'm an 82-year-old body with a 21-year-old brain between my ears, and I think it's cool. That's what I think.
Good stuff. All right. I know that Stu does like to have the ads, so here they go.
It was cool the day I was there.
Big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. If you want to order some, then you can go to their website, mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks also to New Workwear. They were set up in 2018 and they are an agile and dedicated workwear provider. You can find them at their website, newworkwear.com. Thanks to Media Arts as well for all the help with the video side of things. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button under this video. Hit the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on your podcast providers such as iTunes and Spotify. If you'd like to take out a cult membership, which means you get a cup, a pen, a membership card, a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw, then put your smartphone over this QR code now. It'll take you straight to the site. You can set up and pay a one-off fee of £25. Alternatively, go to NUFCmatters.com and check for membership. If you're a subscriber, you can apply for a free car sticker. Just email John at NUFCmatters.com to claim yours today. The new Shearer raffle is up and running. 150 tickets, £1 a ticket to win a limited edition Alan Shearer signed ball. Enter now at NUFCmatters.com. We've got a couple of events coming up. Newcastle United question and answer live with Liam Kennedy, Jordan Cronin and Dominic Skerr from Newcastle World and the Shields Gazette in association with NUFC Matters. Takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre, 11th of August at 7 p.m. and tickets are £5. The Christmas event will be with Frank Clark and John Gibson, Thursday, December the 7th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £15 from NUFCmatters.com. And Waddle, Keegan and Beardsley, the class of 84 with special guests, takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House on Westcott Road in Newcastle on Thursday, January the 25th. Tickets are available direct from the theatre, 0844 24 91 000, or go to the website for further details. And don't forget, starting on the 7th of August, you will be able to hear myself, Steve Wraith, on the Northeast Footy Breakfast. This comes to you in association with the Toon Radio, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock, 5 days a week. Check out the Facebook for more details. Okay, it is time for Ask George. Okay, we've got a few, and then I've got one which I'm going to open up to the panel, which was sent in to me earlier on. Rob says, George, what's your favourite home shirt for Newcastle in all time?
Oh, I think you and I talked about it, one of them today. It was the 85, 86 model that we looked at today. It was a good one. And if I'm being partial, I've got to say that the one I used to wear in 1960, the Charlie Mitten shirt. The shirt, the pants, the shorts and the socks were terrible, but the shirt was lovely. And if you look at that one on the internet, you'll see the collar and the cuffs and things very like what's on the Cellar shirt today. And so they're two I would give you. But there was the one with the NUFC badge with the magpie on was the other one that I liked.
L71 says, how does George feel about Newcastle now after everything that he has seen?
Well, it's a difficult one. I feel now, as I've always felt, I love Newcastle United. It's as simple as that. And I couldn't help but laugh when Al Waleed was talking about him going to the match with his dad. I went to my first match in 1945, February 1945, to be plonked on the bloody cinder track on top of straw that had just been taken off the pitch with wet snow and told that that's what football was going to be. and I loved it, and I loved it ever since. So I feel exactly the same. The difference now is I feel extremely positive about Newcastle United at the moment because, yeah, there's some behind the scenes things I'd like to see get put right, but generally, and when I'm watching these fans things in America, they've got that right for a start. I mean, you know, I looked at all the pictures, and I think it was one of the pictures where Kevin's wife standing with Tunali. That lass will never wash her hands again. I mean, she was really happy, you could see. And you know, yeah, I couldn't be more positive about Newcastle than I am now.
Dirtiest player that you played against, says Barry.
Against? Oh, that's well, it might not have been even a player that got into the league, but at the junior level, there was a kid that played for Leeds United called Billy Bremner, and I remember Billy from school. I played one of my first representative games in Scotland at Hibernian's ground for the North. On the right wing directly against, and he gave us a right run around. Well, when I met him in the juniors at Leeds, I didn't just get a run around, I got a bloody kick around as well, because I think he'd been taking lessons off Norman Hunter or somebody, because he was kicking everything that moved. So Billy Bremner, close, best I can do.
Okay, last one before I open the last one up to the panel. Question for George: what's the worst ground you've been to as a player or a spectator?
Oh, as a spectator. Oh, the old St Andrews as a spectator, and as a player again in the Northern Intermediate League, we had the pleasure of going to Chesterfield, and it was just, well, I've been to better pitches in mining places in the northeast than that ground. It was dreadful, absolutely dreadful. But Birmingham St Andrews in my day was an absolute shambles.
Okay, I will ask George there, but I have got a question which was sent for George, but I'm going to open it up to all the panel after this. Okay, Al-Walid, I'm going to start with you on this one. First of all, you did mention in the messages, you just wanted to mention your shirt. What shirt have you got on? You're on mute.
This is Al Ahli shirt. The team Maximan will go play the team in Jeddah, and it's rival with Al Ittihad. Just I want to show the difference between Al Hilal, the team Newcastle played in December, and the reporters mix between Al Hilal and Al Ahli. So this is Al Ahli, the new team of Maximan.
Brilliant stuff. All right, mate. This is the question that Johnny Hollyman sent in for George, but I'm going to open it up to the whole panel. He said, when would it be a good time to stop calling the new owners and simply call them the owners? He says, they've had it nearly 2 years now. So it's a good question, because we do, I think, by habit, refer to them as the new owners. You know, some people do it all the time. But yeah, I mean, they're not new owners. They've been there 2 years now, Al-Walid. So it's probably time to stop, is it not?
Well, I believe when we will win first trophy, it will stop.
All right. Simple answer to a simple question. Stu, is it time to stop calling them the new owners?
I can give a deeper answer if you really want to know.
Go on, then.
It's psychological, and subconsciously people are calling them new owners because it's been a change for the better, and it's something that sticks in your mind because we haven't been able to see it for a long time. It's new, which is good, it's bright, it's exciting. So that's probably why the tag stuck as long as it has. A couple of things I want to answer first was Spenny says, who's a handsome man on the T-shirt, which was kindly given to me by John Justice Allen. The handsome man you're asking about, Spenny there, that's Mr. Steve Wraith. That one's me, and that ugly beep beep is Spenny. So thanks for watching, mate. There's your answer.
Classic. Okay. Anything else, Stu? Did you want to say something else?
Oh, that was it. I think that's
right.
That's just the reason, psychological and subconscious. It's
very good. Very
It's
deep.
just to revert to something positive.
Very deep for a Wednesday night show. Mitch.
Yep.
Oh,
Mute.
you're on mute, Mitch. You're on mute now. We're all having a go.
We said that they'd have a long honeymoon period, and that's proven to be the case. I would suggest the time's now. Anything that's happening is now on you. It's your watch. And that means the good things that we'll give you the praise for, but it also means you're not immune to criticism. And you should never be immune to criticism where it's fair. And when things happen on your watch that are not so good, be prepared to receive some criticism. And I've seen some of our fans still running around saying, oh, you can't criticise them because look how good it is now. Yeah, but that still doesn't mean it's perfect. And it still doesn't mean that some of the things are right. And when it's not right, and when it's not proper, and when it flies in the face of what's been promised, and things are not necessarily being delivered the way they could be or should be, then it is right that we can be the club's most critical friend. It's on you now. It's your baby you're holding. You had 2 years. Even though you're still relying at times on things that should have been moved out from day one, in my opinion. But there you go. So it won't stop me being critical. Friday could be fun.
Friday is going to be fun. Friday is going to be fun. We have deliberately ignored the whole membership thing because we will be talking about it on Friday. Watch out. Steve Wilkinson, is it time to stop calling them the new owners?
It is in some ways, but traditions stay the same. I still sit in front of the new stand, which was built in 1973.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are still people that call it the new stand. It eventually got called the East Stand when they built some other stands, but it to a lot of people it's still the new stand. The name sticks, so it could be quite a while before that. Going back to what Mitch has just said, I think it is time now. He talked about change management, and that was the thing I worked in when I was working in IT for most of my life, because you're trying to put an IT system in, and that is big change to people, and getting them to change overnight is a difficult thing. And but I think now is the time that they've got it. They've seen there's been a lot of problems. There was the problems with Wembley tickets. There's a problem with the membership going on. There's probably with other things that they're seeing. They've really got to grab a hold of this and pretty quickly. And in my opinion, I would have subcontracted the ticketing out to somebody. There must be organisations, whether it's Ticketmaster, I don't know, use Ticketmaster, but maybe they needed to get some experts from the outside that very quickly look at what works. Whether it's people that are managing tickets for other clubs and other things, is to make it happen quickly. Because if you try and change those inside, people are usually reluctant to change. And I think it's time they now didn't use the excuse, which I think the point that Mitch is making. They can't use the excuse, oh, well, we're still new in the game. They're ready now to be a top team. You know, that on the pitch ingredients are right. They've got to make it the same on the pitch.
Okay, Steve.
Mitch Stolby Thunder, dear me, again. It absolutely. I mean, it's now their club. They need to get away from the fact that they think that they're new owners. You know, they need to as well. It's not just the fans, but they need to get out the mindset. They need to start waving that stick to people who are not doing their job right. For a start, you know, they need to get a grip of the departments. And they need to, you know, they've had 2 years now of looking behind the scenes, and I know that there's an awful lot gone wrong. There's an awful lot that's let slide over 14 years, and that makes it difficult to put right in one go. But the fundamentals are that you're running a football club that has now a membership apparently of 35 million people. According to someone on Twitter, all paying £37, and that's just the people in Saudi. So, you know, thank you for the 1.29 billion that's just gone onto our financial fair play, and that's a massive positive, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, joking aside, yeah, the time's over now. It's time for them to produce the goods. They're doing some positive things, but the fundamentals need to be got a grip of, and they don't need to be frightened to upset people, because I think there's been an element of, all things to all men.
All things to all men. Yeah.
Yeah. Now's the time to like wave your own stick, not wave a magic wand, but start to make people earn that corn, and work for that money, and probably start to listening to the right people rather than just taking for granted some of the things that they get told, wherever it might be, because I think there's a lot of things that have been said to them, that they've tried to introduce, that perhaps were from other agendas. But again, I'm sure Friday and moving forward we'll cover those issues.
Yeah, we definitely will. George, finish up on this one.
Yeah, it should be now, but difficult one to break. I mean, Steve nicely says it about the new stand, how many people still do call it. I'll give you a personal example. When I went into the workshop with the university, the workshop manager was called George, so I had to have another name, and I was young George. The only trouble is, even when the old George retired, I was still bloody young George for 30 years. So once people get hold of the name, it's difficult. The owners have got to be the owners now, because some of the stuff that's happening, that I can see that's happening behind the scenes, is there because they have paid lip service to what they said they were going to do, haven't actually done it. They've paid lip service to it, and the net result is it's fallen about their ears a little bit, and I think they need to pick that up and get on with it. But it should be now. They should be the owners now.
Yeah, okay. Breaking news tonight. Sad news as well for those of you who are interested in music. And Sinead O'Connor's passed away. Tragic that. No announcement as to why, but too young, in her 50s. Shocking, 56 years of age. So rest in peace, Sinead, and created some wonderful music. Yeah, lots of people in the chat as well saying she has just passed away. It's breaking news tonight. Also, big shout out to the Newcastle fans who got caught up in a bit of a hairy moment in New York, who were in a hotel where they were next to where a big crane collapsed in flames. Luckily, the lads who were staying there managed to get out safe and well. But another bit of hairy news there. As always, during the summer, Super Matt and Gib will have a couple of weeks off. So tomorrow night, something a bit different, something I'm going to continue through the season. It is the Champions League show. So tomorrow night, we will have a guest who has had Champions League experience as a supporter, and he will be on to give us his views of what Newcastle United should look out for home and away, and we'll discuss Newcastle United's potential grouping and where we could end up. So, look forward to that. That will be 6 o'clock tomorrow night on Thursday. Friday, of course, 5 o'clock, the Amigos. Saturday, Ben Jacobs. And Sunday, the Professionals.
Steve, can I have a minute before we go?
Yeah.
Just a quick one, because I won't be on Friday to talk about it. Just about the membership and just a few quick things, because I know it's going to get covered in more depth. But I think people need to remember the membership is optional, so buy it or don't. And there's several ways of looking at it. You can look at it cynically and saying fans are being exploited with very little chance of getting tickets. Or you can look at it and say it gives hope and potential opportunity to those who don't have a season ticket, have never been able to afford a season ticket. It gives them opportunity to get to a game, no matter how slim or tall. The next point is probably it generates extra revenue, and people might buy memberships knowing it contributes even a small amount to the club's growth. It doesn't go in the chairman's pocket. It will go to benefit the club. And lastly, I bought one, mainly as a thank you. And if we need 3 words, then I'll just say, remember, it's optional. That was it. That's all I wanted to say about it.
Great stuff, Stu. We will be debating this more on Friday and probably on Sunday with the professionals as well. We need to have a look into it. There's a few things which have even come up tonight, so I'm so glad we didn't discuss it tonight. We've got there's other things coming up. A lot of people, I want to read through all the messages that have been sent. Mitch has had a lot. Steve's had a lot. I think we've all got a lot to digest before Friday's show. But thanks, as always, to George, to Steve, to Aloe, to Stu, to Mitch, and to Kev. But more importantly, thanks to you for watching and the moderators in the chat. Take care. See you all tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Take care, lads.
Great to see you, lads. Good.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.